We're with Daniella Lyttle, who is a family and immigration attorney. And there was a situation with one of your clients that's gotten a lot of attention because it's pretty rare for ICE to show up at some place like a custody mediation.
That's correct.
So give us a little bit of background about what happened. And this was a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, so this was on July 24th when it occurred. We, as part of a routine part of the case, we went to mediation. And mediation is something that's required in our counties for any cases that are going to be litigated for a half a day or for longer than a half a day. This case was highly contested and was going to be litigated for more than a half a day, so we went to mediation to comply with the requirements. We attended mediation in South Austin in a private mediator's office. It started at 9 a.m. and it was supposed to end about 1, but we were making some progress and continued to mediate until about 5. When Alex left the mediation site, ICE was waiting for him in the parking lot.
So your client, Javier Alexander Valencia, is that
Yes.
his name? He is an undocumented immigrant.
Correct.
And he is dealing with custody issues with his ex-wife?
That's correct.
Okay, and the daughter is 3?
Yes.
Okay, just want to
that's
make sure
correct.
we're setting the stage. So when he came out of this meeting,
Yes.
he was taken into custody by ICE?
That's correct, in the parking lot of the mediator's office.
As someone who deals with immigration issues and family issues, how unusual is this?
It's very unusual, and I've been practicing family law and immigration for 10 years. I have never seen something like this happen. I've had many of my colleagues reach out to me and tell me that they've never seen something like this happen, and we're very concerned. We want to try to come up with ways to prevent this from happening in the future, and I have some ideas of things that we can do, but we definitely are concerned, I think, as a community.
So where is Mr. Valencia now?
He's being held at the South Texas Detention Center in Pearsall.
Okay, in Pearsall. And what's the next step? I know that you went to court on Friday, is that right? So what's the next step?
So the next step is for Alex to be released as soon as possible. And when he is released, we will have another hearing in court. That type of hearing is called a temporary orders hearing, where we will be able to present our case to the judge.
And what guarantee do you have that he won't be deported?
At this point, I don't have a guarantee. We never have a guarantee. He does have an immigration attorney that's handling that issue strictly, but there is no guarantee at this point of what will happen with his case, whether he will be deported or not.
So I think what's telling about this particular situation is there really is not a safe place where undocumented immigrants aren't feeling the threat of being arrested and deported. Am I overstating that?
No, I think that's correct. I think that most of us in the legal community felt that mediation was safe, that it was a safe place for people to work out their differences, to not have to litigate their case or put themselves or their children or their families through the stress of litigation or the expense. I don't think that it is safe any longer, mediation and court or really anywhere.
What do you think should happen next? I mean, if you could have your way, what would be the next step?
Well, one thing that was very alarming to me in this case is we know that if a citizen or a resident of this country is arrested, if somebody's arrested for a crime, they are told on the spot what their rights are. You know, we call those the Miranda rights. And people are told that they have the right to remain silent. People are told that anything that's said during the arrest can be used against them, and that they have the right to an attorney. And if you don't have the money for an attorney, you can get one appointed for you. When ICE makes this a detention, and it's the federal government making the detention, they don't have to read those rights to an immigrant. So you have somebody potentially that doesn't speak English that is not being told what his or her rights are. Everyone has due process rights regardless of whether they are a citizen, a resident, or an immigrant. But these folks that are getting arrested are not really having their rights being told to them. They have, the community, the immigrant community has to inform themselves on their own of what their rights are upon arrest, and they really need to know those well now more than ever, in my opinion.
So, to clarify again, ICE, though, did not do anything illegal. They have the right to do what they did.
They do have the right to do what they did. They just did something that's unprecedented in Travis County. I haven't heard of anybody else who's had this happen to them.
I know you've been visiting with Alex, your client. What does he say? How has he been treated, and what's the situation behind bars?
Well, last time I spoke to him, he said that it's a very crowded environment. They're living in spaces that house anywhere between 80 to 100 people in one room. He said that if there's a medical concern for people in the detention center, they're often ignored. He said that there wasn't enough underwear or clothing to carry, clean clothing to carry through the week. That he has been vomiting for the last 48 hours, last time I spoke to him, because the food was so terrible. I don't know if the food is, I don't know the details of the food, but I know that he was sick. He looked very pale the last time I talked to him by video. Mm-hmm. And really the sad part is, in Alex's case, there's people that are thinking about him, working on his case. He's got a family attorney, he's got an immigration attorney. But there's hundreds of other people in these centers that are just there and forgotten, with nobody really doing anything for them. So I think at least Alex has a situation where he has the outside support, and he speaks a little bit of English. But think of everybody else in there that doesn't speak the language, doesn't have an attorney, doesn't have that resource available to them. What conditions are they in?
Do you think that his past criminal record had anything to do with the arrest?
I don't know. I don't really have the details about that, other than to say that when I spoke to Alex, I specifically asked him what was the reason for the ICE arrest. And they told him it was a tourist visa overstay. So he was not told that it was because an outstanding warrant, because there isn't one. This is a case that was closed many, many years ago. So, but he was an overstay on a tourist visa, and that's enough for them to be able to detain him.
Okay. Anything else that you want people to know about this case?
I think in terms of the immigrant community, you're asking, or
just people in general?
I think people in general need to understand that the immigrant community is living with a lot of fear right now, with a lot of stress. They fear for their lives, they fear for their children, they fear for being separated from their children, that this is not just a border issue. People think of family separation as a border issue, but it's not. It's going beyond that. It's people in your neighborhood, it's people in your community. And it's not strictly a border issue, it's a community issue. And in terms of the immigrant community, they really need to be informed. They need to know their rights. You have the right to remain silent. You don't have the right to have a free appointed attorney, but you have the right to ask to speak to an attorney. And you have the right to ask for a low-cost attorney or phone numbers where a pro bono attorney could be available. And we do have a lot of resources, luckily, in this town, in our city, that provide pro bono or free help to the immigrant community.
Daniella Lyttle, family attorney, thank you so much for sharing your client's story and for giving us a general overview of the immigration situation here in Austin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.